The internet. It's everywhere, like a giant invisible spider web connecting us all. From the moment we wake up to the time our heads hit the pillow, we're plugged in. Checking emails on our phones, scrolling through social media, shopping online, it's all just a click away. We share our lives, our thoughts, our moments with the world at large. The internet has become an extension of ourselves, a digital heartbeat that never stops. Think about it. When was the last time you went a full day without using the internet? For most of us, it's probably been a while. It's how we work, how we learn, how we connect with friends and family far and wide. It's a source of endless entertainment, a library of knowledge at our fingertips, a marketplace where we can buy anything our hearts desire. The internet has revolutionized the way we live, making the world smaller and faster. We rely on it for everything. Banking, news, education, even ordering a takeaway. It all happens online these days. The convenience is undeniable. It's easy to forget that just a few decades ago, none of this existed. Now it's hard to imagine life without it. But what if, just for a moment, we did? Imagine a day where your phone screen goes blank. No more notifications, no more emails, no more endless scrolling. You try to refresh the page, but nothing happens. Must be a problem with the Wi-Fi, you think. But then you notice your phone signal is gone too, and you can't seem to load any websites on your laptop. A strange feeling creeps in, a mix of annoyance and unease. You switch on the telly, hoping to catch a news update, but all you get is static. Radio silence. The outside world, usually just a click away, suddenly feels very far away indeed. You step outside and you notice others experiencing the same thing. People huddled over their phones, faces etched with confusion. Something's not right. Word starts to spread like wildfire. The internet is down everywhere. At first, it would feel like a minor annoyance. A temporary blip in our digital reality, like when the power goes out and we're plunged into darkness for a few minutes. We'd fumble for our phones, checking for signal, refreshing our browsers. But the little spinning wheel of doom would keep spinning. Some folks would switch their devices off and on again. Surely that would do the trick, right? But alas, no. The internet would remain stubbornly absent. A wave of confusion would ripple through homes, offices, and coffee shops. Social media addicts would feel the withdrawal symptoms. No more endless scrolling, no more likes, no more virtual validation. Gamers would be abruptly ejected back into reality. The digital playground had suddenly become a ghost town. But it wouldn't just be about missed memes and unfinished quests. The true extent of our reliance on the internet would soon become glaringly apparent. Online businesses would come to a standstill. Students would be left staring blankly at their textbooks. As minutes stretched into an hour, the initial annoyance would morph into a nagging sense of unease. The lack of internet access would start to impact our daily routines in small but significant ways. Traffic lights, controlled by sophisticated systems, might flicker and die, causing chaos at intersections. Public transport schedules reliant on real-time updates would become unreliable, leaving commuters stranded. The rumor mill, fueled by speculation and a lack of concrete information, would go into overdrive. Was this a local outage or something more widespread? A technical glitch or something more sinister? Social media, usually abuzz with the latest news and fake news, would be eerily silent, leaving a void that traditional media outlets would struggle to fill. The financial sector, heavily reliant on high-speed internet connections, would be thrown into disarray. Stock markets would freeze, unable to execute trades. Online banking would become impossible, leaving people with no way to access their funds or make payments. The digital economy, once a symbol of progress and innovation, would grind to a halt. Emergency services would also feel the strain. Without access to vital online databases, police officers would struggle to identify suspects or track down stolen vehicles. Hospitals, reliant on digital records and communication systems, would face significant challenges in coordinating patient care and administering treatment. For many, the first tangible sign that something was seriously wrong would come at the supermarket checkout. With card payments down, shoppers would be forced to rummage through their wallets for cash, a relic from a bygone era. But with ATMs also out of commission, cash would quickly become a scarce commodity. Supermarket shelves, usually overflowing with goods, would start to empty as people stocked up on essentials, fearing the worst. Those who relied on online services for their livelihoods would feel the pinch immediately. Freelancers unable to connect with clients or submit their work would see their income streams dry up overnight. E-commerce businesses, their virtual shop fronts rendered useless, would be forced to close their digital doors. The internet, once a source of income and opportunity for millions, would become a distant memory. Amidst the growing sense of panic and uncertainty, there would also be flickers of resilience and community spirit. Neighbors would help each other out, sharing whatever resources they had. People would dust off their old board games and rediscover the lost art of face-to-face conversation. For a brief moment, the world would slow down, stripped of its digital distractions, forcing us to reconnect with each other and with the simple things in life. As the sun began its slow descent, casting long shadows across a world suddenly plunged into digital darkness, the internet wasn't just down, it was gone. Governments scrambled, issuing vague statements and urging calm. Financial markets plunged, banks became fortresses, and airports descended into chaos. The world, once connected by the internet, stood still. In cities and towns around the world, the streets would become a reflection of the growing sense of panic and uncertainty. Supermarkets, already struggling to cope with the surge in demand, would face a new challenge: empty shelves. With supply chains disrupted and no way to track inventory or place new orders, food and essential supplies would quickly dwindle, leading to long queues, rationing, and inevitably, unrest. Hospitals, already stretched to their limits, would be pushed to breaking point as they struggled to cope with the influx of patients suffering from stress-related illnesses, injuries from traffic accidents caused by faulty traffic lights, and complications arising from the lack of access to digital medical records. Doctors and nurses, accustomed to relying on sophisticated technology, would be forced to dust off their old textbooks and rely on their instincts. The breakdown of communication networks would further exacerbate the sense of isolation and fear. With mobile phones reduced to expensive paperweights and internet cafes transformed into relics of a bygone era, people would turn to more traditional forms of communication, landlines if they still worked, and word of mouth, often unreliable and prone to distortion. Rumors would spread like wildfire, fueled by fear and speculation. Whispers of government conspiracies, cyber attacks, and even apocalyptic scenarios would circulate, adding to the sense of unease. In the absence of reliable information, people would create their own narratives, often based on fear and mistrust. Section 3. A glimmer of hope. Yet amidst the chaos and despair, there would also be glimmers of hope. Small acts of kindness and resilience that would remind us of our shared humanity. Neighbors would help each other out, sharing food, water, and information. Communities would come together, organizing themselves into support networks, offering assistance to the elderly and vulnerable. The absence of the internet, while disruptive and unsettling, would also force us to slow down, to appreciate the simple things in life, to reconnect with each other in a more meaningful way. Families would gather around board games, their faces illuminated by candlelight, their laughter a welcome respite from the darkness that had descended upon the world. In the absence of the constant barrage of digital distractions, people would rediscover the lost art of conversation, of listening, of truly connecting with each other. They would share stories, offer support, and find solace in each other's company. The digital world might have gone dark, but the human spirit, it seemed, was still flickering brightly. Section 1. Empty plates, empty pockets. By day 3, the initial shock gave way to gnawing anxiety. The hum of the internet was replaced by eerie silence. The world felt muted, like a party with no music. The most immediate concern was food. Supermarket shelves remained empty, global supply chains unraveled, delivery trucks sat idle. The financial system was in meltdown. Banks remained closed. People resorted to bartering. Trade and commerce ground to a halt. Businesses shuttered their doors. Unemployment soared. Section 2. The wheels come off. Transportation, once a symbol of freedom, became a logistical nightmare. Flights grounded, travelers stranded, holiday plans dashed, trains sat idle, timetables obsolete. Cars, once symbols of escape, now metal cages. Communication failures magnified isolation and fear. Mobile phones, once essential, now paperweights. Landlines became lifelines. News trickled through radios and newspapers. The 24-hour news cycle slowed down. Human connection was renewed. Families gathered, sharing stories and games. Neighbors offered support and shared resources. In the absence of the internet, humanity fractured into isolated islands, struggling to make sense of the new reality. Governments broadcast reassuring messages, urging calm and resource conservation. Beneath the calm, anxiety simmered. The internet had become indispensable, connecting and informing us. Without it, we were adrift in uncertainty. Yet glimmers of hope and ingenuity emerged. Ham radio operators bridged the digital divide. Local networks offered a lifeline. The internet was more than cables and servers. It was a powerful idea that reshaped our world. Its legacy lived on in acts of resilience and connection. As the first week without the internet drew to a close, a strange silence settled over the land. The world, once a cacophony of human activity, seemed to be holding its breath. The streets, once choked with traffic, were now eerily quiet. Cars, their fuel tanks running dry, sat idle by the roadside. Public transport had ground to a halt. The skies, usually crisscrossed by vapor trails, were empty. Airports stood deserted, their departure boards blank. The world had shrunk to the size of a neighborhood. The silence, at first unsettling, became almost comforting. Without the constant barrage of information, our minds began to quieten. We found time to think, to reflect, to be present. We appreciated the simple things we had taken for granted. The world seemed to slow down. With the internet gone, we rediscovered a slower, more deliberate way of life. We woke with the sun, attuned to natural cycles, our sleep undisturbed by blue light. We cooked from scratch, savoring fresh ingredients and the aroma of spices. We shared meals, our conversations uninterrupted by phone pings. We rediscovered reading, losing ourselves in books. We played old board games, lost in competition and laughter. We walked in nature, our senses awakened, minds calmed. We appreciated patience and the slow unfolding of time. We learned to appreciate simple things: the sun, fresh food, laughter. True connection is found in shared moments and human interaction. The internet had created a culture of instant gratification. The disappearance of the internet sparked an unexpected revival of all things analog. Record stores experienced a resurgence as people rediscovered the joy of vinyl. Bookstores became sanctuaries of knowledge, their aisles filled with the scent of paper and ink. Libraries experienced a renaissance. People flocked to their hallowed halls, eager to borrow books and connect. We dusted off our old landlines, their rotary dials a reminder of unhurried conversations. We wrote letters, our handwriting a reflection of our thoughts and emotions. We rediscovered the lost art of conversation. The internet might have connected us, but in its absence we truly learned to communicate. One month in, the world resembled a mosaic of fractured realities. The initial chaos had subsided, replaced by an uneasy calm. Governments found themselves navigating uncharted waters, their authority shaken. The systems that once streamlined governance had vanished overnight. Leaders relied on radio broadcasts, a stark reminder of a bygone era. The internet was gone, leaving behind a void. Food shortages loomed large, forcing governments to implement rationing. Fuel had become a precious resource, its scarcity a source of tension. The specter of civil unrest haunted the corridors of power. The internet had fostered a sense of interconnectedness. With digital bridges burned, nations retreated inwards, focusing on self-preservation. Across the globe, a frantic scramble for solutions was underway. Technocrats toiled tirelessly, their faces illuminated by kerosene lamps, tracing lines of code on dusty whiteboards. Governments poured resources into establishing local networks, isolated islands of connectivity in a sea of digital darkness. Rudimentary systems offered a glimmer of hope, restoring basic communication and essential services. The disappearance of the internet revealed our resilience, our capacity for adaptation, and our willingness to help each other. The internet's absence had a profound impact on the global balance of power. Nations once dominant in cyberspace found themselves equal with those relying on traditional industries. The digital divide was erased, plunging the world into darkness. The playing field was leveled, but at a terrible cost. The globalized world fostered interdependence, now at risk. Without the internet, the world risked fragmenting into isolated enclaves. Mistrust and paranoia grew without reliable communication. Rumors spread like wildfire, fueling fear and uncertainty. The internet had provided a platform for fact-checking and accountability. Without it, truth became a casualty. As the first month without the internet ended, the world stood at a crossroads. The old order crumbled, leaving a vacuum. The future remained uncertain, a blank page for the next chapter of human history. A year without the internet, a year of silence, of stillness, of a world stripped bare of its digital skin. The initial panic faded into memory like the echo of a distant storm. What remained was a world transformed, reshaped by the absence of the internet. The shift from a globalized world to localized communities was striking. People turned inwards, seeking solace and support within their immediate surroundings. The global village fragmented into smaller settlements, each with unique challenges and opportunities. The disappearance of the internet sparked a renaissance of all things analog, a rediscovery of the tangible and tactile. Books, once threatened by the digital revolution, were now treasured possessions, filled with wisdom and comfort. Vinyl records spun on turntables, filling homes with warm, organic sounds. Music became a communal activity, bringing people together. Newspapers delivered by bicycle became a daily ritual, a tangible connection to the world. The analog revival extended to every aspect of life. A year without the internet changed how we lived and thought, valuing family, friends, and community. The constant barrage of information created a culture of comparison and competition. Without digital distractions, people rediscovered what truly mattered. Happiness became an inside job, appreciating the present moment. The internet fostered a sense of entitlement and instant gratification. Its disappearance was humbling, reminding us we're part of something larger. The world became quieter, slower, and more deliberate. People took time to listen, connect, and appreciate nature. Community, creativity, and compassion flourished. Humanity, stripped of digital distractions, rediscovered its soul. So, here we are at the edge of the digital abyss, peering into the unknown. Could the internet, that all-encompassing digital force we've come to rely on, really disappear one day? It's a question that sends shivers down the spines of tech gurus and technophobes alike, and the answer, like most things in life, is a resounding maybe. Experts warn of cyber attacks so sophisticated, so devastating that they could cripple the internet on a global scale. Solar storms, those temperamental outbursts from our sun, could fry our satellites and send us hurtling back to the dark ages. And let's not forget the human element. governments with itchy trigger fingers, ready to pull the plug on the internet at the first sign of trouble. But even if the internet were to vanish tomorrow, would it be the end of the world as we know it? Would society collapse into chaos and anarchy, a real-life Mad Max scenario? Or would we, like the resourceful species we are, adapt, evolve, find new ways to connect, communicate, and thrive? The truth is, no one knows for sure. The internet, for all its ubiquity, is a relatively recent invention. We've only just begun to grapple with its profound implications, its power to both unite and divide, to enlighten and deceive, to accelerate progress and exacerbate inequality. Its disappearance would be a global experiment on an unprecedented scale, the outcome of which is impossible to predict with any certainty. Perhaps the internet was never meant to last. Perhaps it was just a stepping stone, a bridge between the analog and the digital, a temporary phase in our evolution as a species. Imagine a world where we valued face-to-face interaction over virtual connections, where we spent more time exploring the natural world than the digital realm, where progress is measured by the strength of our communities, the depth of our relationships, and the richness of our inner lives. Let us use this hypothetical journey as an opportunity for reflection and gratitude.